what I've been calling Hawaiian Brothers, but it really is apparently Hawaiian Bros, Bros,
Yeah.
and it's very spicy. And I think I've just destroyed my voice.
You're eating during the podcast? Thought that
I
was a
am eating during
no-no.
the podcast. Yeah, I think that longtime listener Stephen McCandless would say, "Oh no, you're doing something that might alienate your audience." Whatever.
Oh no, you're doing something that might alienate your audience?
That's nice. I like it. So yeah, so it is. Let's see,
Thursday, April 6th,
Thursday, April 6th,
2023.
and I just returned from my vacation to Toronto
Oh
last night.
yeah. How was that?
It was really good. I love Canada. It's a great country to visit. I'd never been to Toronto before, but it was really nice, as one might suspect. Um, there was a bunch of stuff that um, I didn't really think about at the time, but being in a hotel, like a nice hotel, is
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah,
Like you don't really have to do a lot on your vacation if you're in a nice hotel.
they do it for you.
I had breakfast there every morning. It wasn't a buffet breakfast, it was a breakfast, a sit down
Yeah.
and eat breakfast. And I didn't realize, Ben, the price differences between Canada and the US being what they are. Even if you're in a big city like Toronto, you feel like, when you look at how much you're spending, you feel really good sometimes because you're like, I got all this and it's $70. Oh, wait, no, that's actually only whatever.
Right.
Oh, shoot, I didn't bring it down with me, but I wonder if it's worth me going upstairs. No, maybe not. This will be a teaser
Okay.
for a future podcast. I'll show you the banjolele that I got in Canada.
Ooh. Yeah.
The thing that's really great about it,
Yeah.
it's Good Time is what it's called, and it's by a company called. I'm gonna look it up just to make sure I get it right. Um, it's a company out of California that sells it, even though I bought it in Canada. Um, the company's name is Good Time. Or no, that not the company. The banjo style is Good Time, and it is Deering. That's what it's called. Deering.
Deering.
Deering. Deering. The Great American Banjo Company.
Mm.
They're from California and Spring Valley, California. Deering Banjo Company. And
Banjoleles are
what
pretty
they
cool.
what they have done, Ben, is created a monster that is
In you?
wonderful. Yes, I am now a wonderful monster. No, it's a regular sized banjo drum with a ukulele sticking off the top of it. If you can imagine, most banjo ukuleles are, smaller.
Ukulele size with a ukulele sized banjo drum.
Yeah, this is a regular sized band. It's amazing,
So it's
and
like it's like the penny farthing of instruments.
it is the penny farthing of instruments. Yes, and it sounds really good. And I mean, the neck is like no other banjo neck, or not sorry, not banjo,
Ukulele
no other
neck.
ukulele neck. It's so solid. This doesn't sound like it'd be a selling point, but it hurts my fingers to push the strings down sometimes.
Yeah, that's not really a selling point.
But it's because it's not weak. It's a solid instrument.
So remind me why
Jonas.
y'all went to Toronto in the first place.
Jennifer wanted to go. We had gotten passports a while back. Jennifer wanted to go to another country of some kind, and we none of us wanted to fly. So our choices were Mexico or Canada. Canada is closer, and I got a chance to speak French to some people.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. So that was really good. Also, we got to drive through Detroit.
How was that? Does it make you want to live there?
Well, here's the thing. Did you know that Detroit is just over the river from Canada?
I did.
That was pretty cool. The fact that you could just drive over a bridge when you're in Canada. And I mean, here's the thing. Detroit and St. Louis look a lot alike.
Yeah.
You know, oh, this used to be a cool building. That's kind of, something that you think about. Um, but there was some investment in the city still. I mean, there I saw a police car. And I know this sounds weird, but it was a Detroit police car, and the fact that it was a Detroit police car felt like it made it special. It made it okay that it was a police car. I know that sounds weird, but it just had this sort of weird iconic feel to it.
Hmm.
In a way that I think if I were to move to Detroit, every day that I would get up and go anywhere, I would just be like, I'm in Detroit. This is Detroit. And it would
I think we
interest.
I think we talked about this last week or a couple weeks ago, in that
Yeah.
the Detroit economy got really depressed once all the automotive companies left, and
Hmm.
you would always see these, like, what were once grand mansions that have just fallen into disrepair, and there was like so much like land and real estate that was up for really cheap in Detroit, which meant that a lot of artists were moving there, and and film industry was going there too, because Michigan was like, "Hey, come make your film come make your post-apocalyptic film in Detroit. We got just what you need."
Yeah.
Which means now that they're investing in the city, which means it's actually not as good for artists anymore. I'm
Hmm.
wondering how true that actually is.
Well, I mean, you can get a 3 bedroom, 2 bath house for like $70,000. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Hmm.
about how much it costs in Edwardsville. So,
Yeah, that's not a lot for a
you
house.
know,
Can't even buy a parking spot for that in Seattle.
did you see the TV or the film Barbarian?
I did not.
Oh, okay. Well, that was filmed in Detroit.
Barbarian, is
That's what I
it
was thinking about. Yep.
like a Conan
Low
kind of
Winter
thing?
Sun. Oh no, no, not at all. I don't want to tell you anything about it. It's a horror film.
Ah,
Low Winter Sun was filmed in Detroit. Do you know about Low Winter Sun?
I do not.
Low Winter Sun was a movie, like a TV movie in Great Britain, 2 episodes, starring Mark Strong as a police officer. Spoilers, but not really. I mean, this is the entire plot of the film. He kills somebody, kills a
Ah,
fellow cop, and thinks he can get away with it, but then there are problems.
then he can
Um,
never get away with it.
Low Winter Sun was a American remake from AMC. Same lead actor, same character, but instead he's a cop in Detroit. Mark Strong playing it's very similar, plot wise and everything like that. It's just kind of fun. Uh, because it's sort of science fiction. It's sort of everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
If you put the two of them together, but of course, it's there's no actual continuity between the two.
There, that reminds me of a British show starring David Tennant called Broadchurch,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
it may have even been AMC, but the Americans remade it. I'm looking up the
Yep.
American name because it's not. They didn't call it Broadchurch, but David Tennant plays the same character. He's got sort of an American accent in it. I was actually a
Yeah.
little charmed to see how bad his American accent was. I think he's the only one who returns. I can't find the new name of it, but yeah, but it was interesting because it's the same, sort of like the same kind of plot. I watched. I want to say I watched all of the American version. I can't. Don't hold me to that though. Grace Point. That's the name of it.
Wow.
Grace Point, and his name is different, but it's essentially the same show. It's a remade show starring David Tennant. Olivia Colman was in the British version. It looks like Anna Gunn is the Olivia Colman role. You might know Anna Gunn from Deadwood or Breaking Bad.
Who did she play in both of those things?
In Deadwood, she was
Oh,
the wife of
yeah,
the
yeah,
lead
yeah.
guy. And in Breaking Bad, she was
Is
Skyler.
she Skyler? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, it took me a second.
Timothy
Well, yeah, of
Oliphant's
course.
character. I can't remember. I've seen Deadwood. I want to say I've seen it 3 times, like all the way through. For some reason, I can't remember his character's name.
The sheriff.
Yeah.
I
There's
like Timothy Oliphant. He's
Al
good.
Swearingen and oh man, that's gonna bother me.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna try.
Old age, man, old age.
We were talking. Jennifer, Benny, and I were all talking about how we feel horrible
Bullock,
today.
Seth Bullock.
Like,
You got a Canadian hangover?
yeah, really. I mean, we left around 10 their time, which is be like around 9 our time.
10
And
a.m.
got back, but this is not from Canada. We were leaving from Ann Arbor, Michigan. And we got back here around 7:30.
Okay.
Now it's supposed to be a 7-hour drive. We ended up doing it in a lot longer because we stopped.
Yeah.
Like you should.
Yeah, go to the
But there was
bathroom,
also
get gas, get snacks.
there was also bad weather. And one thing that happened that was interesting, I'm not sure if you've ever witnessed this, but it gave us sort of a sense of community. We were all there was a huge traffic jam. We were all trying to get around this traffic jam. There were like 8 of us. And the route took us to a bridge that we were supposed to turn on. And there was a semi and another semi. And semi driver number 1 was a dude, and he was trying to get onto the bridge, and his truck wasn't aligned properly to get onto the bridge. And there was the other driver, who was a woman, was telling him what he needed to do to get across the bridge, and he wasn't listening, right?
So she's outside his cab and she's like telling
Yeah,
him
and
what
she's
he's
like
gotta do.
gesturing, and he's like throwing his hands up in the air and like pointing.
Ain't
and
no
yelling,
woman
and
gonna tell
she's-
me how to drive my truck.
Well, that's who knows, but she was shaking her head and walking away and stuff, and all of us, the 8 cars, had to back up.
Yeah.
And he tried it a couple other times, not doing whatever it was that she wanted him to do, and eventually backed out and went down the road the opposite way to like turn around or whatever. And as soon as he did that, she just turned exactly as she was trying to get him to do. Crossed the bridge, no problem. We all got across. And it was a little bit of a wonder to behold, Ben.
Yeah.
Of course, that's how it works out. Um, let's see. We did some fun things. The Skull Museum that we wanted to go to was closed,
Skull
unfortunately.
Museum.
Hmm.
Now,
A
what is
museum of
these
skulls,
human skulls?
but animal skulls, maybe
Every
human
skull,
skulls. I
every
don't
kind of
know.
skull.
Lots of skulls, but they were closed. But we went to the greatest place that I've been to in a while, bookstore wise. It's one of those cases where we could have left with almost every book they had. They're just weird and wonderful books,
Yeah.
and it's called The Monkey's Paw.
The monkey's paw.
I never noticed this about the phrase monkey's paw, but if you say it very quickly to two excitable people, what it sounds like you're saying is we're going to the monkey spa. And the excitement of that possibility. I mean, what is it? Are you giving mani pedis to the monkeys? Are they picking
Are
the
they the
nits out of you? What
one? Yeah, giving the mani
exactly?
pedis to you.
But no, the monkey's paw had a book vending machine, and Jennifer got a book by J. Edgar Hoover, and I got a book of animals from Nigeria. So it is kind of like the Oracle at Delphi
Bought a
in a
book
way. Like,
from J. Edgar Hoover? Like
yeah, I mean that
written
was what
by
the
him or
machine
about him?
written by him. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think it's called The Great Deceivers or something like that. She's going to read it. She believes it's probably about communism, which I can understand. Um, let's see. We had shawarma
Yeah.
finally,
Have you never had it
which is pretty
before?
good. I hadn't had it. I think she might have, but I don't know for sure. Um, and then I mentioned already I had breakfast at the place. The first day I had a fit meal, which is pretty good.
A
The
fit
next day I
meal.
had
It's
the
just
French
that's just like
toast.
a healthy meal, or
Yep, exactly. Egg white omelet with spinach and chia pudding and
yeah.
some other stuff. And then the last day, so I had French toast the second day, which is fine, French toast. Uh, and then the last day I had they were all sleeping, right? This would be a thing. They'd be sleeping late, so I'd go out and have breakfast and stuff. Um, the last thing that I had was their chia parfait, and it was not only the it was my last day there. It was the last meal I had at the breakfast place, and it was the last time they were going to be serving the chia parfait. They were taking it off the menu, so it was pretty great,
So,
and it was
number of
good.
lasts.
Yep, exactly. Felt nice. Um, oh, Betty and I made an error, or I made an error and I brought Betty along with me on it. Um, it's a 21-story hotel or 22-story hotel.
Okay.
Um, and we took the elevator all the way to the 21st floor. You couldn't get to the penthouse. Um, but there was
Not
a
with that
stairwell.
attitude.
There
Yeah.
was a stairwell that took you all the way up to the roof. So we went on the stairwell all the way up to the roof, and it was a alarmed door.
Uh-oh.
So we didn't take the alarmed door.
Okay.
And then we couldn't key ourselves back in.
Oh no.
So we had to walk down all uh, 18 floors because we found the third floor. Somebody had propped it open. So we got in through the third floor. Um, and then for the rest of our trip, we couldn't walk anywhere because our calves were just tight,
Yeah.
like you wouldn't believe.
I once worked in a 42-story building downtown Seattle. I
Can
was
you say which
on
building?
it was the Russell Investment Center.
Okay.
And I was on, I think at this point I was on the 40th floor. The fire alarm went off. And as you know, when fire alarms go off, you cannot take the elevator.
That's right.
And it's not like you're just not allowed to, they shut them down.
Right.
And fortunately, we didn't have to walk all the way down. We didn't have to walk 40 floors down to the ground. We just had to walk to like 20. You know, there was like a sanctuary for like an alarm. The building obviously wasn't on fire, so it wasn't a big
Right.
emergency. But they were like, okay, well, we got to follow protocol. We'll go to the 20th floor. The 20th floor door was locked, and so we ended up standing in that stairwell for, I swear to God, 45 minutes to an hour, kind of like slowly creeping down as people. And the only reason we made any headway is because people just decided to nope out and just go all the way down, or tried to key into other floors that they were able to get into. And I think that's yeah. After that experience, the facilities managers there were like, yeah, we need to work on this because otherwise,
Yeah.
20 floors of people are going to burn alive in the stairwell if this was a real fire.
Yeah. Oh, speaking about which, I was in Key Tower, working customer service for Amazon.com when Y2K was supposed to happen. And,
Oh, yeah.
and so we were all thinking, what if we're stuck in Key Tower?
Yeah.
In some ways, we thought it was safe, because people, if you remember, people were afraid of like riots happening, stuff like that. It was
Nuclear war, too. I mean, everybody's like, the
Exactly.
Russian computers can't handle this and they're going to launch the nukes.
So we were just doing that. And one of the people that wasn't there, like we called, like they called us, we were on the phone, or one of our friends in customer service was there, and they said that in their building, when it reached midnight, their landlord went down to the fuse box and turned everything off
Jesus.
as like a prank. And that,
Good prank.
to me, yeah. It's speaking about which, April 1st came and went while we were in Canada.
Yeah.
No pranks for me.
Do they not
Lucky
celebrate
enough.
April Fools in Canada?
Well, maybe they do, but not being on social media, I am spared so much of the companies having the fun.
Yeah. That was
Little
Saturday. Oh, that's what I did. My April Fools, I spent working on a short film where two people went around Seattle and tried teriyaki, like compared teriyaki at different places in Seattle. And then we came back to Annex I came back to Annex and we watched a couple movies for the birthday of a company member.
Oh, nice. Were they movies the company member wanted to watch, I'm guessing?
Yes. So we watched
Like one of your favorite movies?
Tremors and The Mummy. The Mummy of which I have actually never seen until I saw it on Saturday.
The Brendan Fraser one? Or
Yeah, the 1999 masterpiece starring Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz.
And wait, does it also star The Rock, or is that The Mummy 2?
He's not in that one. I don't know which Mummy movie he's in. I know that he does appear because they have a whole spin-off, right? But he's not in the
Mhm.
first one.
The Scorpion King, whatever one says the
Yeah.
Scorpion King. Um, Let me think. The Something happened in the news. What could it be? Oh, actually, we'll do this one first. Ben's gonna guess the news.
Ben's gonna
There
guess
was
the
a
news.
there was a story that we saw a lot when we were in Canada. It was mostly about the United States, but there was a Canadian element to it that made a lot of people talk about it in Canada. Do you know what it is?
Is it the announcement of the crew that is going to go back to the moon on the Artemis mission?
That is exactly correct.
Right on.
Um, One of the crew members is a Canadian, um, and so got a lot of airplay. So
Yeah.
let's find out, Ben, if you can remember. Um, there was a joke that was made. Did you see the announcement?
No.
Okay, well, you may not get this, but I'll just mention it. There was a joke that was made um, during the announcement that made Jennifer kind of roll her eyes and groan. Jennifer, my wife, Jennifer Pratt, Jennifer Fact Checker. Not simply because the joke wasn't really even a joke, but because it seemed to her to be bad planning on the mission's part. There is one member of the crew who is not only the only woman, but also the only what on this new crew?
Is she the only person of color?
No.
Oh. Because I can see a really bad
She is not
joke.
a she is in fact not a person of color.
Um, she's not only a woman, but also the only what on this crew.
Yep.
Is she the only homosexual on the crew?
No. Let me make a little bit of a hint. It is the fact that she's the only one of these might affect the mission. It could affect the mission if something were to happen to her.
She's the only doctor.
No. You're on the right track though. You're on the right track.
It's some sort of profession. She's like the flight engineer or something.
She is the only engineer on the crew.
Yeah.
They said if something gets broken and needs to get fixed, we know who we're going to talk to because she's the only engineer. And everyone laughed. It's like that doesn't have to be funny. That could
Is
be
there like is it like a poet and a house painter and
no. The
a
other
guy who
folks
studies
are
rocks?
there are lots of test pilots. There's the main pilot, right? And then there are some guys also know how to fly a thing
Yeah.
and all that. The main pilot is the person of color on the crew.
Well, I mean,
That was the other thing that Jennifer said when it started. It's the guy in his speech said, we're gonna have the first person of color and the first woman, and Jennifer went, "There's going to be a person of color, a woman, and the rest are going to be white guys,"
dudes. Yeah.
and it was. Um, but yeah, we were both like maybe maybe just like another engineer, maybe someone else with. And the one thing that he said was, maybe somebody does have engineering skills, but
Well, I mean, I don't know.
the joke was that she was the only one who was going to be fixing things because she was the only engineer. That's it. Whether or not it's really true, I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know how big this the crew vehicle will be, but there's four people. There's four of them, right? I mean, they probably have to be very selective depending on what, like, who goes.
Yeah.
Because like you need the pilot, you need the engineer, you need whatever, the gunner. They probably
Yeah.
don't need to shoot fire guns in space, but everybody has their job, and so it's like if it not just her, but if somebody else gets incapacitated in some way, they're gonna be in a bad place. If anybody on that crew, if
Yeah.
anything happens to anybody on that crew,
I do like the
it's
idea that there was a gunner, but they couldn't. I mean, one of them was the gunner, but they couldn't mention it
right.
for secrecy reasons. I do still like that, the idea that we went to the moon and there was already a whole bunch of stuff there, and we got like talked to by the cops for like 40 minutes. Like, what do you mean? What are you doing? And then they let it, okay, just go over there and shoot your stuff. Don't film any of this city.
Or they're gonna go to the moon, and it's like the summit of Everest, where there's just trash everywhere.
Yeah. And that was the thing. They were like, also, don't come back to the moon. That's the big joke, right? Or the
Like we haven't been there
conspiracy
in
theory, depending on who you're. The reason we didn't go back to the
50
moon is because
years.
someone told us not to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think that's
There's a
too
pretty
much to worry
fun
about.
video of Buzz Aldrin, like 85-year-old Buzz Aldrin, getting confronted by a moon landing denier and just
I know about
punching
this.
the guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where if you only see that clip, you're like, whoa, I can't believe it. But apparently the guy had been bugging him for a while.
Yeah.
Like, this
And,
is sort of the last straw.
You gotta imagine, like, Buzz Aldrin actually went to the moon and has been told for the last 50 years by a certain subset of people that that never happened and he's a liar. I mean,
Yeah.
what that must do to somebody.
Yeah, you did the coolest possible thing.
You trained
everyone's like,
hard.
no,
you put your body through so much. You
Yeah,
risked your life.
It's not like you told somebody that you were going to Fife and then you didn't. It's a completely different.
Tacoma!
But just people coming up to us going, hey, that felt bad a little bit.
Well, I mean, to our credit, we didn't punch them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and we were in the wrong. That's the thing. If we had gone to Fife and people would come up to us and say, you never went to Fife, then we'd be like, hey, hold on.
Screw you, buddy.
You're going to get a bunch of fives, buddy.
Hey, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh my God. It worked. I liked it.
Do you think when somebody steals
yeah.
from a convenience store down there, they call it a 5-finger discount?
Oh, jeez. 5-finger in general doesn't sound right. Okay, so here's
sticks.
something I just want to tell the people who are listening, the people who are watching. What keeps on happening is I keep on wanting to tell Ben something, and then realizing that I can't, and stopping myself, and that's why I'm always going, oh, and then having to reset, because Ben, you and I will talk about it after the podcast.
Is it connected to what we usually talk about after the podcast? Yep.
For sure. Okay, and then of course, history was made this week.
Oh, right. That.
We have to mention it. It is again April the 6th. Is that right, Ben?
Yes.
April the 6th. Over the weekend, or during this week, I don't really pay attention too much, but former president of the United States, Donald Trump, was arrested. He wasn't just arraigned, he was arrested and arraigned, from what I understand.
He was indicted. He flew from Florida to New York, and from what I understand was fingerprinted and photographed, and pled not guilty to 34 counts of falsifying business records in connection to the hush money payments to to Stormy Daniels for an alleged affair during a campaign year. That's the
And
important part.
the one thing the news pointed out afterwards is that he is still the most popular Republican candidate. Uh, and the thing that Jennifer pointed out when I, read that to her was if he is in fact convicted, it wouldn't matter. He still could not be president. And then she corrected herself and she said, actually, I don't know. I know that you can't be a felon and be in Congress because if you could, and I'm quoting her here, Congress would look a lot different than it does right now.
It's
So,
yeah. The dude allegedly has a secret child out of wedlock, and yet he is the most He's the most popular candidate for the party of family values. It just boggles the
yep,
mind.
well, I mean, the thing is, it goes back to something regular theme on this show, and we say it not only to criticize people that aren't us, but to criticize ourselves as well. If it's someone that I like, it's okay if they do it,
Right.
even if I am morally opposed to it. In the same way, the sort of hypocritical. I find this company horrible yet convenient is another issue. It's part of just living in the United States in general,
What?
living in the Western world in general,
Oh,
probably.
there's a bagel shop down the street here that I go to every once in a while. I actually do like their turkey bacon bagel sandwiches. But the owner is very like pro police, anti protest. Like, it's the shop was like in the middle of the chop, right?
Yeah,
And he was very not with on the quote right side of whatever. He's very like
yeah.
pro police brutality or whatever. Dude's actually running for city council in West Seattle, the owner of the place. I went in there earlier this week and there are campaign signs for him all over the store. And I felt a little gross going in and buying a bagel from the guy. And
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it would be like to have your boss, regardless of what you think about it, or if you're like it's his business, whatever, he can do what he wants.
Yeah.
But just putting your campaign signs all over the inside of your bagel shop, it just feels gross to me.
They must
And
be pretty
yet,
good
I
bagels.
still, yeah, no, I was jonesing for one of those turkey bacon bagel sandwiches that morning,
Yeah,
and so I
yeah.
still got it.
I'll tell you. Uh, I was I was doing some testing of uh, a social media product once when I was working somewhere where I'm not working now, at a time when I wasn't working out. Anyway, and so you get to see all the stuff that they like, and the person whose thing I was testing, who was a person that I was working with, liked some things that I was like, yeah, that's not that's not what I like. And it was one of those things where it was like you could tell that it was unironic. You could tell that the person was
Right.
like, "This is what I like to listen to on the radio," that
Yeah.
sort of thing. And it's like, okay, yeah. And I figured out what it is that the implications that one gets from that stuff, right? Like if someone, I, and I'm making this up, right? This is not the person, but I'm just saying if someone uh is like all their likes are uh let's say NRA, um Civil War reenactment, the South, um you know, I hate rap music, um and you know, uh freedom fries are hilarious, whatever, like a
Right.
whole bunch of that stuff.
Anti
And they're
George
still
Soros.
right. Oh, yeah, perfect. They're still really nice to you all the time, right? It's possible. It's a possible thing, but it's one of those deals where you're like, am I supposed to have a friendly relationship with this person? Is the fact that the two of us can get along saying something that I'm doing wrong? Like, shouldn't this guy not like me? That sort of thing. Um, it is one of the it's sort of that sort of the bagel thing, like I'll give you another. There's a store around here, very similar. They don't have their campaign posters up, right, but one of the people affiliated with this store is running for an office, and they are absolutely, counter to my values and how I vote and things like that.
Yeah.
And yet, when I purchase something from the store, they are always very nice. There's never an eye roll or whatever. So
Well, I mean, that's interesting because if you walk in there with like a pride flag and a Black Lives Matter hat, would they still be nice to you?
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I do have my uh, John Brown did nothing wrong shirt that I don't wear that often. But it's a good shirt, for sure. The reason I don't wear it that often is because I am still overweight, Ben. Uh,
Shirt's too
and
small for you?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So here's the thing. I've gotten a new doctor. I don't go to the doctor hardly at all, but I'm turning 50, so I need to.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I picked the doctor that I did was because they kept on getting, so I'm in the Midwest, right? They kept on getting bad reviews from people saying, she says that I should eat healthier. She says that I should exercise more. She's all this stuff that I'm like, these are things that I need to hear.
She says I need to watch my cholesterol. How dare she?
Exactly. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
The only way I'd like to lose weight is to go outside and shoot guns.
Ugh, man. Now here's the question. Can I get my arm replaced with a gun that weighs how much does an arm weigh? Let me think about this. No. No. Here's the and I've mentioned before, and I do believe this still. When you are rural, having guns makes more sense. And
Because
what
of
I
all the
mean by
feral
that,
hogs on your land.
well, so here's the thing: feral hogs, and this is an actual true thing. And I know that this sounds incorrect, but if you are living in a place that does have feral hogs, uh, you absolutely should have a semi-automatic rifle.
But no, I mean,
But
but that's the argument, right? It's not the Democrats aren't coming to take your guns away. The Democrats want to enact sensible gun legislation because maybe not everybody needs a semi-automatic, rifle for
this is the way
protection.
that I think this is what I think it really breaks down. Um, Humvees, right? Big 4x4 trucks, all of that stuff seem to me to be kind of the same deal. If you live in a town that has gravel roads and floods and all that kind of stuff, your big truck makes sense. If you're living in a a a big city with very little parking spaces and narrow streets and all that kind of stuff, you should not have this giant big truck. And I feel like it's sort of the same thing that if you live like where my parents do, where I mean even if you go like if you're going the self-defense route, right? And I'm still of the opinion, the pumpkin cannon thing, it's fun to shoot guns. This is one thing that people don't talk about whenever they talk about the thing because they're like, well, if we do that, obviously people are going to say that we can't have them in the city. And it's like true, but again, this is one of the reasons why people have them. They just don't talk about it. So when stuff doesn't make sense, that's
Yeah.
part of it.
I
You
mean,
don't want the semi-auto.
Jim Jeffries has a
What's that?
whole bit. Australian comedian Jim Jeffries has a whole
Oh,
bit on like how gun owners don't want to admit that they own guns because it's just fun.
yeah. Oh, that's great. So yeah, I don't know this person, but yeah, that's exactly the same. But this is the real thing. Um, you are not always going to be in a situation where your gun is appropriate. That's the thing that I would say is that you might feel like you might feel like you should be in, but there are some times I believe it was famously leave your guns at home, don't bring your guns to town, something to that effect. Now in that case it was because the person wanted to start a fight with somebody with their guns and all that. But there there is this idea that places like Chicago, you need to bring your gun because there are lots of guns in Chicago, lots of gun violence and things like that. No, no, you don't.
There's there's a big Republican talking point about how like Chicago, even with its liberal gun policies, is still the like most dangerous city because of all the gun violence. But somebody did a study on all the guns that were captured or seized after violent crimes, and they all came in from outside of the city. So it's
I
not
was going to say
Chicago's fault.
Indiana exists. You
Yeah,
can you can go to Indiana and get.
and you know the did you hear what happened in Florida? I think just this last week,
No.
Governor Ron DeSantis signed legislation getting rid of concealed carry permits for gun owners in
Oh
Florida.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so I did hear about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that should be fine.
I can't wait until the next
No.
mass shooting that happens in Florida.
See, this is something else that I was thinking about. There's a kid who lived, and I'm going to say his name because it was there's a kid that I was uh in awe of a little bit. He was sort of a bad kid, sort of a wild kid. His name was Eric Pervoznik. My parents live on the land that his family had now, but he would like peel out in his car and do all the the tough kid
He's a
things.
bad boy.
And my mom said something that I'll never forget. I can't wait until he hits some child with that car or whatever. And it struck me as being weird. Again, this is the autistic brain kind of thing
Yeah,
of why would you want him to do that? And what she's really saying is, I hope he doesn't, right? Like she doesn't want it to happen.
right.
She's saying, I can't wait until he does, meaning that maybe then he won't do it
Right.
because he'll realize
This,
it's something bad.
the subtext there is that the only way he won't do that is if he kills somebody.
Yeah. But even then, I was like, no, that's not what you should say. And it took them a long time for it took a long time for them to explain to me what it was because in my mind it's like, well, no, it should never happen. He should be able to speed his car down the road as fast as he wants to forever and a child never gets hit. That's what should happen. Don't hope for something, crazy like that. but the reason I mentioned is that you know, it would be interesting if it would be fine. Uh, Florida, there's no problems whatsoever with this. I know it's
I
not
mean,
going to happen,
the,
but
the the next school shooting that happens in Florida, not just anywhere, but in Florida, is
yeah,
going to be connected, whether or not it is, to this new legislation getting rid of
right.
concealed carry
Yes, the
permits.
people will bring it up for sure. Do you remember when I lived on Cherry Street?
I do indeed.
There were a couple of guys. I saw two of them in the time there who got around the no concealed carry thing by just wearing their guns just like a cowboy,
Yeah.
just like outside of their pants. It was the craziest thing. I was like, okay, all right. Um, and it does make you a little nervous when you see that. But again, the big thing I would say is that out here where I'm living right now, I'm not as concerned about gun ownership, but uh at my daughter's school I am. So,
Yeah.
the two, unfortunately, you cannot disconnect the two, in
Yeah.
my opinion. We have a little visitor, and it's this guy. Hey, Bird. Hi, pal. Um, so Edward went to Canada with us,
Yeah. How'd he like
and it
it?
worked out. It worked out really well. Pretty good.
What about the
I
cat?
uh, I got a little normally I had a sling for him. This time I got a backpack that had him like this
Mm,
the whole time, and so I was able to like carry him around
a front
and
pack.
be like, yeah. He had his little emotional support animal thing on. And this is what I've kind of learned. As long as you're not going anywhere, at least in Canada, I think it might be true in the United States as well. As long as you're not going somewhere that serves food and you've got him in his little harness thing, no one cares that you've got a small dog with you
It.
in
I
general.
mean, you're supposed to care. At the grocery store down here, they have signs that say, only service pets allowed,
Yep.
right? And that doesn't stop. A of all, it doesn't stop people from just bringing in their big ass dogs that have no, training whatsoever. And B of
Yeah.
all, the people who work there don't care. I mean, what are you gonna? I had a friend who worked security one place, and he was in charge of like policing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like he would say, the minute I go up and say like, "Ma'am, you can't bring your dog in here," once they say this is a service animal, you have to back off. You can't challenge that.
Yeah.
Even if there's no identification, there's no jackets or whatever. What are you gonna
Well,
do?
he's got a little collar
Well, yeah, I mean, you did
that
that.
he
You
wears.
did that correctly. You're not just taking your dog anywhere just
Well, and
because.
the other thing is, I mean, this is just a personal thing. I wouldn't take him to the grocery store. Um, you know what I mean? Because I've got in my head, that's not a place to like. I would maybe take him into a gas station, that has food in it, but a grocery store, no. There's just
Yeah.
I mean, the optics of it and all that. It just doesn't seem right. Hey, buddy, how's it going? Yeah. So he's gonna be 6 years old. Did you know that?
I did not.
In
6, huh?
June. 6 years old.
How
Yep.
long have you had him?
About 4 years. He was
Do you
like
still
two
have
when
your
we got him.
cat?
Yeah. Abby is
Did
still alive.
Abby? Did you leave Abby at home while you were in Canada, or?
Yes, we got a cat sitter to come in and look in on her.
Ah, good.
Abby is pretty self-sufficient.
Cats generally
Like
are.
she wouldn't care if we were gone.
She'd
I
prefer
think.
it.
Yeah, she per um
She
per
prefer.
perforid. Yeah. Oh man, that's bad but good. Uh, hey,
I'm
speaking
rolling
of
my eyes and shaking my head.
yeah, yeah. Speaking of good, but bad. It's good that we did this podcast. It's bad that we're done with the podcast now, Ben.
Oh, we're out of time.
Yeah.
Again, my apologies for not hitting the little button that puts sounds into my cans at the top of the show, and I couldn't hear. But I look
Hey,
forward to
no
what you
problem.
say.
I have you'll hear me say things like, "Oh, now I'm showing Ben my dinner. I wonder if he can see it." Oh, he's still not talking. That sort of thing. You know,
Yeah.
uh we have a strict we never listen to the podcast ourselves policy.
Right.
But one day, Ben, I think it may actually happen. One day when I'm old, I might just,
What was it
listen
like
to
when I
all
was
of them.
almost 50? If
Exactly.
there's an instance during a show, it happens a couple times where we get disconnected or whatnot. So you and I are talking without hearing the other
Yeah.
one. I will sometimes listen to that section just to see how it lines up because sometimes it does line up in weird ways. Like
Yeah.
we'll go at the very same time. Sometimes
Nice.
those little moments are a lot of
Awesome.
fun.
Well, Ben, thanks again. And until next time, I would ask for you to please keep it wrong.